welcome to my juicing episode. I'm excited for today's episode. I was just talking to my neighbor this morning who works at a popular health food store, and he was saying that their most profitable area in the store right now is their juicing area. And so there's obviously a high demand for that. People are concerned about their health, and also incidentally, I was talking to a gastroenterologist, a friend of mine, who said it is almost impossible, physically impossible, to eat the recommended daily amount of vegetables in your diet, which is kind of interesting coming from a physician. So juicing is a great way to maximize the amount of vegetables in your diet. And also it's a great way to increase the diversity in your diet as well with the vegetables, introducing vegetables you may not eat otherwise, particularly ones that you may not enjoy the texture of. It's also an efficient way to get your vegetables. Vegetable juicing, fruit juicing has come under a lot of scrutiny due to the environmental concerns, which is understandable. There is a lot of waste that's generated in some juice processes. And the juice method that I'm going to discuss with you today is one that really minimizes the amount of waste, and you really do extract pretty much all of the juice and fiber that you physically can from the vegetables and fruit. Today I'm just going to be making a all vegetable juice drink, and we'll go ahead and get started. I'm also going to share with you some vegetable storage ideas that I use. I have these containers that I got from a restaurant supply store, and you may have seen these before. But what I do is I will buy 3 heads of kale and wash them off once a week, and then I will store them in these containers so they're washed, ready to go. And then when I'm ready to make juice, and I'm also going to show you how many, the raw vegetables, what a big, basically the quantity that I have prior to juicing, so you can see how much of the fiber and the juice that is extracted and what's left over afterwards. So I'm going to be using kale and some parsley. And I'm going to use probably about 4 leaves of the kale, and then probably about 3 leaves of the parsley, and then also some organic celery, which is also all the rage right now. It's also very popular. It was hard to get for a while. And then I'm also going to throw in jalapeno from our garden, and then 2 cucumbers, and I've already quartered them. And so here is my bowl of vegetables that I have here. And I have my little schnauzer down here that is ready for his cucumber peels. And I'm going to give those to him at the end of our segment because it's pretty cute. You may be able to hear him in the background. I'm going to give him one right now to keep him happy. You can't see him, but you may be able to hear him. So this is my juicer right here, and this is a masticating juicer. This is an Angel juicer, which is definitely one of the higher end juicers. It's all metal parts, and I started with an Omega masticating juicer, which had plastic parts. It was probably a couple $100, and that was to test if I would actually be committed to juicing. With a masticating juicer, you have to be committed to feeding the vegetables in pretty small increments, and I'm going to go ahead and get started now to give you an idea of how long it takes. So about 1/4 of a cucumber, for example, is about as much vegetable that you can put into the feed at one time. But as you can see, I put in about 1/2 a cucumber, and this is all that I have left that has come out. And the beauty of this is this little bit of pulp that's come out, I can feed it through again, and I can basically have 100% of the cucumber turned into juice. Not 100%, probably more like 90%, where 10% of that fiber will not be turned into juice. Cucumbers are mostly water, but there is definitely some of that that will not be juice. And so I'm going to go ahead and feed this. And there's my schnauzer winning his cucumber peel. There you go, Bentley. And so I used the Omega juicer for probably about a year and a half, 2 years. Served its purpose beautifully. And what concerned me a little bit about that was the plastic was actually starting to dissolve in areas, and I think that was because of the bitter vegetables like the kale that I was using, and it was starting to dissolve, and I figured that was probably going into my juice. And that's when I decided to invest in the Angel Juicer. But if you are committed to making juice and you consider how much you're paying for a juice at a juice bar, it's definitely a good investment. The cost of an Angel Juicer, if I remember correctly, because I've had this one for probably about 3 years, is about a little under $2,000. And they have warranties and all metal, completely metal. All of the inner workings are all metal, and they are built like a tank. And you can use them as wheatgrass grinders. I think you can, you certainly don't want to get your fingers caught in them because they could probably work as a meat grinder as well. And a little dark. And so I'm putting the kale in now and making very good headway on my pile of greens. And I know a lot of people like to put some sort of fruit in their green or in their fruit juice or in their vegetable juices. And I find that if you choose the right, okay, Bentley, if you choose the right combination of vegetables, it's really not necessary, because I do feel like if you're going to eat the fruit, it's really better to eat the whole fruit and definitely get the skin in there. And yes, when you're juicing fruit, you can get the apple skin in there, for instance. But fruits are definitely carbohydrates and sugars, which I guess vegetables are too. But you're also getting a lot of the fibers as well. But if you put in a little bit of lime, a little bit of salt, I find that I don't need to have any sweetness in my vegetable juices. And the cucumber, celery, kale, and a little bit of jalapeno, and lime and a pinch of sea salt is a fantastic recipe. Okay, so that's been my first run, and I'm going to show you that big bowl of vegetables that I had here is now gone, and this is the pulp that I have left over, and this is the juice that I have left over. So it seemed like a pretty efficient use of my vegetables and my produce there. I'm going to go ahead and run it again and see how much water I can extract from that pulp to again see how much waste we have left over. So I'm basically just stuffing it in there and then using my plunger here. And you may have noticed I did not put my lime into my juicer. It's personal preference, but I do not like the taste of the rind juice. It's not one of my favorite things. So what I like to do is just squeeze the lime juice in when I'm done. And then put a pinch of sea salt in there. And I've also heard that peppers are good to take to help prevent getting colds. And I forget what the chemical is in them, but I think that's pretty cool too. And they also taste good. So that is it for my second run, and I'm going to dump out my leftover pulp here so you can see how much I have left. So from my bowl of greens that I had, I'm going to go ahead and actually place these in my bowl here so you can get an idea. This is my leftover pulp in here, and then this is my juice. So I consider myself an environmentalist, and I do not feel that I have wasted any vegetables. If anything, this fiber here, I guess the other thing that you could do, my dogs actually love this, and so you could always repurpose this. You could use it in your garden. There are certainly things you can do with this, but I pretty much sucked this dry. I mean, it is just basically like hay at this point. I've gotten all the nutrients out. And I've got fairly eccentric dogs, by the way, if you haven't figured that out. So I'm going to place some lime, fresh squeezed lime in there. And then pour a glass. I did not add the salt because I don't have it here right now, but just to give you an idea of what the color is. And there is my fresh glass of juice. Now, as I promised, I'm going to grab my little puppy Bentley. Bentley! So this is my sweet puppy Bentley, and he finally gets his cucumber peels. So thanks for tuning in today. I'm so glad you joined me for my juice episode, and we'll see you next time.